Oh, you guys want a break? Okay, so how are we doing? We have only Rahul's presentation. Yes, let's a tea break now for 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Okay, so we'll have a tea break for 15 minutes and then we assemble to hear from Rahul Mirakhur, who is, I think, here. We missed someone?
Rahul Mirakhur, the other Rahul. I'm the less popular one. Um, and yeah, I'll probably talk quite briefly, just in case that's the pattern people follow. Um, I work for a small startup company, well, not startup, a small company which does a lot of mobile software development. I had the Indian office here, uh, but at heart, more than management, I still believe, I like testing. I love testing, and I would love to. I keep testing all the time. Like that's the best job, right? Crib and find faults in others, and you get paid for it. That's like back in the day, my wife used to say, "Yeah, you've taken my job." And I never got paid also. So wife would complain and not get paid, and here I am complaining and getting paid. Um, so yeah, and why this talk? The topic was a little, I was thinking about, there were a couple of different topics I was planning to pick on, but this one I decided more from the previous experience I've had talking to testers from different domains, different work experiences, and talking to my friends who are in this industry for a very long time. And there's this common theme about how testers are always challenged to keep uprooting themselves. They learn one skill and then they have to go learn some other skill and then keep moving on. And these days it has become even quicker, the rate of change. So I thought this might be a topic to talk about. Please give your feedback to the organizers if you like or don't like, or what you think the topic should have been, or the details. I would love to tweak it for the next. So you're my guinea pigs here. All right. Quick question: how many of you are only into manual testing as we speak? Like generally only manual testing. And okay, yeah, be proud of it, man. Come on, yeah. And how many are only into automation? Okay. And how many are a mix? Okay, right. So and the mix has been in the last 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, like last 1 year. The mix means you have switched or you keep jumping between manual and automation, right? So it's the last 12 months, 24 months. Is that a fair assumption for me? Because that's the people I wanted to address in this talk. A bridge between two worlds. If you couldn't make out, the bridge meant manual testers and automation testers, and and the journey. And a lot of us feel that we are right in the middle of it. I have to keep. So what I will do is I'll start with the QA myths these days, doing the rounds, which that's what I see people doing, and I have to. It's old school, boring, repetitive, even looked down upon by a lot of departments, and so, and it's not cool as well. So that's why, like, it's just inbuilt these days that when somebody says I'm a manual tester, as if it's it's something bad you have done, or it's a sin and you're ashamed of it, that so you want to not use the word manual, and and that has got the manual word has got a bad rep, although if you talk to some smart people like James Park or Michael Bolton, if you haven't heard their name, please Google them up and follow them on Twitter if you can. Like, they are the torchbearers of, testing doesn't need to be manual or automated. Testing just needs to be testing, right? And that itself is a very difficult task, to be a good tester, because there are so many variables which come into play, from development, requirement, graphics, internationalization, localization. Like, so many variables are there which a tester generally has to deal with in real-time basis. And in different companies, the objectives and the incentives are different. So, it's a very difficult job just to do testing and actually have and do a good job of it, right? And we still seem to sell ourselves short and say, yeah, manual testing, it's not cool, it's old school and all. So, Did they come up or they just came up now? Sorry, so I just serves me right. So I believe we've been at the crossroad for a few years now, QA in general. And what I mean by that is there are a lot of things which are changing and we are getting caught in that. I meant testers in general, and you know, a lot of old things are changing. Lot of departments or businesses actually are thinking, do we even need manual QA? Do we need so many manual QA? And new stuff is coming in, all happening at the same time. And that's what overwhelms us. And generally when you're overwhelmed and you make a decision, more often than not, you do the wrong thing. Yeah, and given the choice that you had time to think about and research, you will generally take a better decision. So I thought that's something very important to be wary of, that not get into this FOMO thing, which we talked about in the panel discussion, right? So many things are happening, I don't know. Like Santosh said, somebody told him, what was it, full stack developer, and full stack, and then said, what the hell is full stack? So new terms will keep coming up, and that distracts you. So the more distracted you are, more difficult it is to do your current job or current skill. Your current craft itself is difficult to build upon if you're constantly distracted. And what I'm trying to hope in this session is trying to, beg everybody that don't be distracted. It's okay. You only can have one job at a time, right? And that job, if you can do really, really well, chances are you will have that job for a long time. But if you keep looking at other things, other friends, like that grass is greener kind of thing, you are constantly going to be unhappy in your job, and plus you're not going to, get what you are thinking you want. So try and be more focused. And that's where I actually call it is more for testers. It's also an identity crisis. Like, what are we? Like, are we even needed, or are we part of some ops team, or should we doing a little bit automation? So are we really automation people? We are not developers, so then who are we? So that kind of thing is very important to be aware of when you are making decision about your profession or domain or changing jobs and all. So it's important to keep that. And then for this topic, I'm talking to the set of people who have been in manual testing and want to switch into automation, or have just got into automation with certain things in mind. So what to do, which ones to pick? Those are the distractions I'm talking about, right? What kind of distractions are there out there? And this is just a small list for manual testers, right? These are the common ones which I see on Stack Overflow or job sites, or even discussing with people, who hire. So is this ringing any bell? Like, these are similar, these are words which you guys have seen. Anybody has worked on all of them? Nobody. Yeah, it's not a surprise. You can't work on all of them, but all of them are needed for testers these days. At least one from each line you have to have. Then you are a tester or automation tester, or it's quite frustrating. So this is where this is just a small example of where that FOMO plays a part. And then you are constant, every day you are reading and reading and reading. I don't know how many of you actually have gone. So I'm pretty, I don't mind being blunt and honest about my own misgivings or failings, because if I don't accept it myself, then nobody else can help me. So there are phases in my life wherein I have felt that FOMO, and there's so many things changing, and I'm saying, I need to stay in touch. I can't just be in management. I can't be just hiring people, firing people, telling them be a good lead or be a good manager, and then not be able to do it myself. Because what will happen 5 years down the line? Stuff is changing. What do I do? So then you start reading online, start trying out few things, and you've put this self-pressure on yourself that you have to do it right the first time. But I didn't come from this background. Like, if anybody was in the panel, or if you were not, just to recap, I came from a commerce background, became a software developer back in the day when writing an HTML tag meant you were a very smart developer. Like, anybody who could write those angular brackets and H tag and B tag and I tag, those guys were getting jobs in San Francisco. Like, so I'm pretty ancient by that standard. I'm sure some of them, somebody in this group must have been in kindergarten when I was working. I'm pretty sure. So I have seen these phases. I've gone through those phases as well, right? And the trouble in India, especially, is when you get into management line, you are forced, you are expected not to be hands-on at all. Because if you're hands-on, then you can't groom people and all. So which people have kind of, they have used swear words a little bit. So I think it's bullshit, because that's not how this industry works. This industry is very, it mirrors the West civilization, West mindset, West education system. When I say West, it is Europe and everything on the left-hand side of that. So, it's very difficult to stay away from it. So, what I'm trying to say is, I have gone through it. I'm assuming I hear it. A lot of people go through that as well, like what to pick, what to do, and that generally will get you in places where you don't want to be. So another thing I should have started with, if there are questions, I don't mind stopping this. I actually had one question which I forgot of waiting. So do you guys want a 35-page slide or let's say 6-page slide presentation? 6-slide presentation or 35-slide presentation? 6? Thank God I never made 35. I would have been in trouble. Yeah, because I myself can't, you can't go through if you're talking and you're putting your point across, or you're talking, having Q&A, you can't follow a 35 slide with bullets and all. It's very difficult. That's why I try to use up pictures. So if there are questions, disagreements, I would rather do that talk now, not for Q&A sessions. We can talk now. Because the whole point of this talk is about that bridge. And that bridge would not, it takes time. First of all, to feel that that there is a bridge, and then you have to cross it. Can you cross it? How do you cross it? These things take, these are scary questions. There are a lot of self-doubt. And if you don't talk about it, right, you tend to do the wrong things. That's my personal observation. Like, you have to be able to talk about these fears, professional fears. And it's okay. This is the place where, you can talk anything. No, it won't go back to your manager unless your manager also has come. Or manager's manager also has come. Oh, yeah, okay, so then you're out. Then those people should not ask questions, but others, please feel free to stop it. Yeah, that's what managers say. Yeah, I will keep my ears closed. I put my hands. See, I've put my hands. I've done all of that. No, just kidding. So, if there are any questions or any disagreements, please tell me in the middle, or we can do it at the end as well. I'll rather keep this slide thing short, because the point I want to make across is more, sorry, yeah, go ahead. Yeah. Okay. So the question is, the bridge between, the topic of the topic was bridge between two worlds, which I said is between manual testers and automation testers. But ladies' perspective is that it's more about testing and development, right? So, and I would not argue too much. It's just that it's a word play. So when we say manual testers, what do we mean? And when we say automation testers, what do we mean? So whenever somebody says automation tester, more often than not, people are only thinking about coding. Oh, this guy is a developer, I think, right? And depending on who you ask, if somebody has been writing code in the testing domain for last 20 years, let's say, he will never call any of the automation testers developers or anything to do. They'll just say, yeah, man, you guys are still novice. Yes, you have done 5 years of Selenium or Appium or whatever, but you still do not get the sense. Development is different. So one of the slides, which actually is my pet slide, is about like, what is this difference? Like, when you cross that bridge, when you say automation, it is not scripting. It is development. And when we say it is development, what does it mean? What does it demand? Every skill, every craft has a prerequisites, has benchmarks, right? You can stay, like Rahul said, he likes to cook. And if he thinks he's a good cook, he has different benchmarks, right? But then if he goes to actual chef in Taj or Oberoi's, right? And they say, okay, now let's talk about I'm also a good chef. That the word's definition changes, that word good, right? So he is good. If he makes a dish for me, I would say this is amazing. I'll not go to a Taj restaurant, I'll actually go to his house and he'll cook and we'll have an awesome time. But then the challenge is, what does that word mean now? So meaning of those words has been changing over a period of time. Like tester itself now has changed. As I said, like in 90s, the tester meant something else. A developer actually meant something. I could just literally, if I could do tags, and if I could do select star from table employee, I was a DBA. I could actually apply for a job in San Francisco as DBA. But at that time, that was good. Now is that good? Santosh actually did that right click, clear, dot clear, like doing CD, doing PWD on a terminal itself. Lot of manual testers actually get scared. It's like my wife, if she sees math, she's like, a lot of nice words come out of her mouth, right? So a lot of us also have those inhibitions. Like we have that picture image in our mind, right? So that this is development, this is testing, and I'm here, I would love to go there. What do I need to do? Do I just attend conferences and do a couple of workshops and all, and I'm in this world? Actually, no. These worlds are also a little mixed up, and they are a little different as well. And whenever you switch into these worlds, there are certain rules, like when in Rome, do as Romans do, right? So these worlds have their own set of guidelines. And when people are shifting, they actually don't look at that. What they're looking at is, how can I quickly jump and reach there? And I've reached there. And that, in long term, is the one which hurts that person's profession. More importantly, the topic which is very close to my heart is the whole community. Because those kind of examples is what people will look at. If that person became a lead or a senior lead or a manager, like somebody else will say, oh, I also have to do it. And that has already happened for the last 10 years. That's what's happening. You just learn these enough things. And generalist, as Rahul was talking about, right? Yeah, this guy actually got salary. So what happens is we start mixing different priorities of own life and say this job actually defines that, which is actually wrong. So for us, if a CTC is important, right? Designations are important. Then we say, okay, if I do this job, I'll get that, which is actually the other way round. And we ourselves are giving importance to all these titles, right? And that drives everything else. Like a lady in the panel discussion also talked about, like, what does a QA manager do? How to inspire or make testers do their work better? It can't happen like that. So you have to have the tools right, and once we are educated, more informed, then you make that decision, do you want to do this or not? Because if you do it half-heartedly, more often than not, in the long term, short term, you might look that, okay, you're doing great, you got this job, and you jumped every year. I see resumes with 10 years of experience with 7 jobs, right? 6 years of experience, 5 job changes, right? And that's okay, we'll all have reasons, right? But that is not sustainable. And I am more worried about what happens when the same set of people become in the middle ages, when they are late 30s. There is, the job market is like this, right? Higher you go, there are less space. And India, as it is, has so many engineers, so many testers, and how many managers can you have? Plus the world is changing in a place where you don't need managers. Like invest now, people don't have managers. Like not the managers we call managers in India, in MNCs and all. Those kind of jobs are not there. And that doesn't mean those companies are not doing well. They are doing great. Instagram, I think people have heard, got bought by Facebook, I think for $12 billion. It was, I think, less than a year old company, run by 13 people, including 2 founders. Right? There was no manager as such, but everybody was doing, and almost all of them were full stack developers in those. Full stack term was not there when Instagram came out. Like that was 2008, 2009, something like that. So the point is, these terms actually distract us. But if